The Bible is full of beautiful pictures. One of the most loved pictures is Jesus as a shepherd. In the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verse 11, Jesus says something profound. He declares, "I am the good shepherd." These are not just simple words. They tell us so much about who Jesus is. They also tell us about his love for us. This single sentence opens a window into the heart of God. Imagine the scene in ancient Israel. Shepherds were a common sight. They led their flocks across hills and valleys. They protected them from danger. They knew each sheep by name. So, when Jesus called himself a shepherd, people understood. But Jesus added a crucial word: good. He was not just any shepherd, he was the good shepherd. This set him apart. It promised something more, something perfect and true. This verse, John 10:11, continues with a powerful statement. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. This part is truly astonishing. It speaks of a sacrifice beyond measure. It points to a love that is willing to give everything. This wasn't just about daily care, it was about ultimate protection and salvation. A shepherd dying for sheep was not the norm. It hinted at a deeper spiritual truth. It was a foreshadowing of his great act of love. When Jesus said, "I am," he was doing more than starting a sentence. He was using a very special phrase. This phrase, "I am," echoes through the Old Testament. It is a name God used for himself. Think back to Moses and the burning bush. Moses asked God his name. God replied, "I am who I am." This was a powerful declaration of God's eternal being. It spoke of his self-existence and his unchanging nature. So when Jesus used "I am," his Jewish audience would have noticed. They knew their scriptures well. They would have recognized the divine weight of these words. It was a bold claim. It was a quiet assertion of his own divinity. Jesus used this "I am" construction many times in John's Gospel. I am the bread of life. I am the light of the world. And here, I am the good shepherd. Each one revealed another facet of his divine character and mission to the world. Jesus was placing himself in that same sacred space. He was saying, the God who spoke to Moses is speaking to you now through me. Jesus did not just say, "I am a shepherd." He specifically said, "I am the good shepherd." That word "good" is incredibly important here. In the original Greek, the word used is kalos. This means more than just morally upright. It means beautiful, noble, excellent, and admirable. It describes something that is good in every way, fulfilling its purpose perfectly. This goodness sets Jesus apart from all other leaders or guides. In that time, and even now, there are many who claim to lead. But not all leaders are truly good. Some are selfish, some are careless, some are even harmful. Jesus was drawing a clear line. He was showing that his way of shepherding was different. It was based on pure motives. It was rooted in genuine love and concern for the sheep, not for personal gain or status. His goodness was active and selfless. The goodness of this shepherd is seen in his constant care. He knows his sheep. He calls them by name. He leads them to good pastures. He protects them from predators. This is not a distant, uncaring leadership. It is intimate and personal. The image of a shepherd was deeply woven into the fabric of Israel's history. Many of their greatest leaders had been shepherds. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were shepherds, tending their flocks. Moses, the great lawgiver, spent 40 years as a shepherd in Midian. This experience likely shaped his leadership, teaching him patience and care for a wandering people. King David, Israel's most beloved king, also began as a shepherd boy. He famously protected his father's sheep from lions and bears. His time in the fields, caring for his flock, prepared him for ruling a nation. He understood responsibility. He knew about courage and protection. It is no surprise that David himself wrote Psalm 23. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This psalm beautifully describes God as a caring, providing shepherd for his people, a comforting thought for generations. The prophets also used this imagery. They spoke of God as the shepherd of Israel. Jesus did not make his claim in a vacuum. He contrasted himself with others. In John chapter 10, he spoke about hirelings. A hireling is someone who only works for pay. They do not truly own the sheep. They do not have a deep love for them. When danger comes, the hireling runs away. He abandons the sheep to save himself. His primary concern is his own safety and wages, not the welfare of the flock entrusted to his temporary care. This picture of the hireling was a sharp critique. It was aimed at the religious leaders of Jesus' day. Many of them were more concerned with their own power and position. They cared more for rules and traditions than for the people. They were not leading people to God. They were often burdening them. Jesus saw them as false shepherds. They were not protecting the flock. They were in some ways scattering or even harming it through their neglect and self-interest. The Old Testament, particularly in Ezekiel 34, also spoke harshly about these false shepherds. God condemned the leaders of Israel who fed themselves but not the flock. They did not strengthen the weak or heal the sick. They did not bind up the injured. They ruled harshly. Because of these bad shepherds, the sheep were scattered. They became food for wild animals. The most startling part of Jesus' statement is this: the Good Shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. This was an extraordinary claim. Shepherds were expected to protect their sheep, certainly. They might risk danger from wild animals or thieves. But to willingly and deliberately lay down one's life for sheep, that was unheard of. It went far beyond the normal duties of even the most dedicated shepherd. It hinted at a sacrifice of immense proportions, something truly unique. This phrase, lays down his life, clearly foreshadows Jesus' crucifixion. He was speaking of his own impending death. He knew his mission would lead him to the cross. He understood that his death was not an accident. It was not a tragedy that overtook him unexpectedly. It was a voluntary act. He chose to lay down his life. He had the power to prevent it, but he chose not to. This highlights the willing nature of his sacrifice for humanity. The purpose of this sacrifice was for the sheep. The phrase for the sheep is simple, yet it speaks volumes. It tells us about the motivation behind the Good Shepherd's actions. Everything he does for the benefit of his sheep. His life, his teachings, his miracles, and ultimately his death were all directed towards their well-being and salvation. This is not a detached, impersonal care. It is a deeply personal and sacrificial love. The sheep are the focus of his heart and his work. He lives and dies for them. This bond is further explained in John 10. Jesus says, "I know my sheep and my sheep know me." John 10:14. This knowledge is not just a superficial acquaintance. It is a deep, intimate understanding. He knows their needs, their fears, their weaknesses, and their strengths. And they, in turn, recognize his voice. They trust his leading. This mutual knowing creates a relationship of profound connection and security. It is a family bond, a shepherd, who truly cherishes each member of his flock. This personal relationship is what makes the imagery so powerful. We are not just a nameless crowd to Jesus. The imagery of the Good Shepherd brings with it a profound sense of security. Sheep are vulnerable creatures. They need a shepherd for protection from predators. They need guidance to find pasture and water. Without a shepherd, they are easily lost and can fall into danger. Jesus, as our Good Shepherd, provides this essential security. He watches over us. He defends us from spiritual harm. He leads us in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. This security is not based on our own strength or ability. It is based entirely on the shepherd's power and faithfulness. He is the one who keeps us safe. Jesus says in John October 28:29, "I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand." These are powerful words of assurance. Our safety is guaranteed by the combined strength of the Son and the Father. The declaration, "I am the Good Shepherd," reveals so much about Jesus. It encapsulates his divine nature, as seen in the I Am. It highlights his perfect character in the word good. It defines his mission, to care for, guide, protect, and ultimately lay down his life for his sheep. This one verse is a miniature portrait of who Jesus is and what he came to do. It is a message of profound love and selfless sacrifice, offering hope to all who will listen to his voice. This verse also beautifully illustrates the relationship Jesus desires with his followers. It is not a relationship of a distant king and his subjects. It is the close, personal bond between a shepherd and his sheep. He knows us intimately. He calls us by name. We in turn are meant to know his voice and follow him trustingly. This relationship is built on love, trust, and mutual recognition. It is a relationship that provides comfort, guidance, and unwavering support throughout our lives.